What is up, guys? It is the Scarlet Duelist back again with yet another deck profile that I am confident calling pretty good. This is the deck profile that I took to the Rosemont Regional. So if you don't know where Rosemont is, that is in the state of Illinois. And so I did pretty well. I won 4, lost 3, and tied 1. There were 9 rounds, but I dropped after round 8 just due to time reasons, and had essentially a 3-hour drive home. So with things going over time a lot, with the top tables going like 30 to 40 minutes over time, just couldn't stay that long. So yeah, I guess technically if you count that drop as a loss, let me correct what I said there. It would be 4 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. And I believe that put me, if I'm not mistaken, which I don't think I actually would be posted due to dropping, but if I were and you just counted that drop as a loss, that would have put me in like around like top 100, top 125 of around 500, just because a lot of people drop before they can get a better record than I do. It's not because I did that amazing. But yeah, so that's not too bad because I'm playing Orcust, but in kind of a quirky way, which is my favorite thing to do. And I know a lot of people are triggered at this deck. So before you go anywhere, this video is for people that kind of already know what Orcust does. But it's also for people who are maybe looking for a way to play it without going the full-on kind of meta mentality of going straight into Masquerana. Like, I know that's really good. But I personally like playing it this way better. What I did was I made a going second OTK version of Orcust, which is really, really fun to do. But then my side deck is, of course, to adapt for matchups and going first, because I will run into, and I did run into decks that wanted to go second. What was interesting about the regional is that I did not actually run into very many mirror matches, like at all. Actually, I don't know why I said very many. I didn't run into any mirror matches, which was very strange to me. Like, I thought for sure that I was going to run into a ton of other Orcust, but at this moment in time, people are so locked and loaded, ready, playing all of the anti-Orcust cards like Lancia, Imperial Iron, Wall, Super Poly, what's the other one? System Down, you know what I mean? So all of those were in everybody's side decks. So it was actually pretty hard to play once they figured out what I was playing. And that's why, and this isn't a ban list video, that's why I would argue that, not Galatea, I'm looking at the card Galatea, so I just said it. I would argue that Orcust doesn't need as big a hit as people are kind of crying out for. I'm not saying that it doesn't need one at all. I think the card that really pushes it over the edge is honestly Masquerana, but I understand that Orcust is very consistent, and that might need hit a little bit too. But just keep in mind too that if you just hit Orcust, Salamangrate is the next best deck. Not too long ago, that was the deck that was on top, and it's basically Orcust. It does pretty much the same play style of just creating a meh board. It's not that great, but it will continue to interrupt you, reset, and keep going. That's exactly what Orcust does. If you take out Masquerana, maybe hit the Babel. So you know what I mean? That's just how it is. But anyway, this is not a ban list discussion. That's just something I want to point out to people before you get mega triggered at the fact that I played Orcust. I actually happened upon a meta deck. I bought Orcust long before it was this crazy winning deck. And here we are, I have it, and it's pretty cool to be able to play a deck that is so good. I didn't buy it for that reason, but I actually genuinely enjoy playing it. It's so fun, and it interacts with my opponent without telling them that they cannot play. So without further ado, let me run through the profile and explain a few of my choices, and what went wrong and what went right with the deck. I'll go ahead and start with the main deck monsters here, and I'll kind of go fast here. Again, I'm assuming that you know what this deck does for the most part. So of course we have 3 Harp, then we have 3 Nightmare, just the average Orcust lineup, 2 Skelly, 1 Wand, 1 Bombard, 1 Gizmek. If that was too fast for you, right there I had World Wand, Bombard, and Gizmek. I hate to say it, I didn't think so, but you truly do need Gizmek for even a budget version of this deck to be successful. It's just imperative that you have the ability to keep yourself alive. So I would highly recommend, if you don't want to buy some of the other cards in this deck, definitely at least get yourself a Gizmek, because it's such a good card. It just really helps out. I used it almost every single duel that I could. Then we've got our kind of extenders slash play starters. We've got 3 Mathematician. This helps me get things to the graveyard, kind of get my plays going. And what's really cool about Math is it gets around cards like There Can Be Only One. Remember, I am going second, so I have to be able to get around some things and interrupt and, pick apart my opponent's board, which I did pretty well and OTK'd very often. So I've got 3 Math to do that. If I need to crash it, I get to draw a card, and I actually used that I believe 4 times total in my time at the regional to crash into something and get the draw off, and it actually saved me and allowed me to continue to build my board and last and then eventually win. So that was very nice. Then I have, this is kind of some spice that I came up with. No one's doing this, and I will explain this. I absolutely love this. It came in so clutch. Like it helped me so much. It was amazing. 3 chronograph and 1 time gazer. So 3 of him is absolutely incredible. I cannot believe how good this was. So this has so much utility. It's honestly insane. And honestly, if you see both, it doesn't really matter. You're just trying to get another monster out, and kind of dilute your deck of being only Orcust monsters. But this card, it's crazy to me that this is not limited or semi-limited on the ban list. This is insane. So not only is it at the bare minimum, if I see it, it's a free time gazer on board. It also, if I activate its effect while seeing another one, I just got time gazer, this on board, plus another monster in hand. So 1 card just got me 3 monsters on the field. And I have no idea why this is not in more decks beyond just Pendulum. It is so good. And then also, even if you don't end up needing this, because I usually do this last, or I use other cards to bait. So that's kind of my thinking on it. But if something that I do gets destroyed, because often I'll bait with Math, they'll negate destroy, and then chronograph comes out and brings out what I want anyway. So it's so insane what this can do. But yeah, if your cards get destroyed, you get to bring this guy out. So it acts as a hand trap as well. And then even at the bare minimum, if you're not going to use it, guys, it's an allure target, or you can use it off of Dark Grepher. It has so many uses. You need to absolutely be playing this card. It's so good. Then we've got obviously Grepher at 1 and Armageddon Knight at 1. I actually didn't really use Armageddon other than bait. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't bad by any means. But yeah, I used Grepher more because it gave me more ways to get things into the graveyard a little bit faster. Then I had 2 Defrag Dragon, which this card is so good. Don't run it at 3 because it gets clunky. I tried it over and over at 3 and 2 before I went to the regional, and 2 is the magic number for sure. Because you discard whatever you don't need, or you discard an Orcust card, you know what I mean? Which, again, this works really well with this, because if you'd end up not needing them or whatever, you can get rid of one or the other. It's so good. These cards just work so well together. And then we have 2 Ash for going second. Again, 3, not really the best, because hand traps aren't incredibly strong right now, at least in my opinion. Most decks that are good can play through hand traps. So I have it as like, it's something that at least my opponent will play a little bit less optimally. But it's not absolutely like I have to see an Ash Blossom to stop my opponent. So I run it at 2 because I am running also 3 Nibiru, which was interesting. Believe it or not, I'm just going to be honest. I would still keep it in because I played entirely against rogue decks, other than I played 2 of my 8 matches. I played 2 striker themed decks. And otherwise it was all rogue that summoned a lot. Now I didn't see it, so I didn't get to play it, but I would absolutely keep it in at 3 going second, because I went against all rogue, right? So I kept it in during those matches. I just didn't see it at the right times. So that was just all due to, RNG, luck, randomness, whatever. But it would have absolutely annihilated those decks had I seen it. So that, luck got in my way there, but that's life. But I would absolutely still recommend it at 3 if you're going to choose to go second, because it has you ready to not auto lose the mirror match also. Because, Orcusts are everywhere. It was really weird that I played no other Orcust decks. It was really strange. But I think people who were playing people who have been playing Orcust kind of expected everybody to play all the anti-Orcust cards at this point, which was true. Everybody sided for me, and the people that saw the right cards in their side deck in game 2 ended up taking the match and stuff. So my record was spotty, but it's all right. Had a lot of fun. And finally, we'll go into our spells. Of course, Dark Deck running 3 Allure. It's incredible. You should always be playing this card if you're playing a Dark Deck. Then we've got 2 Return. Again, absolutely incredible. Plus on plus on plus, to be honest. You get to send an Orcust to the grave, which is where you want it anyway, and you get to draw 2 cards. This card is absolutely broken. It was so good. It saved my hand a ton. And because I'm a going second deck, I also have 2 Mind Control. And then I have 2 Instant Fusion, which also kind of acts as 2 more copies of Mind Control, because I bring out Restrict and try and take control, and then I link away Restrict. And it came in really nicely against a lot of the rogue matchups, because I could either bait their negations, or I would just take a monster, link it away, and then I blew up their back row with a Phoenix. So that was really nice, because I had to do that before I would go into Orcust plays, just because when you do Orcust plays, you are locked into dark monsters. You can no longer activate Phoenix or make Phoenix at all. Then I had my back row hate, just because I am going second. I don't want to auto lose to back row. I had to start with 2 Cosmic Cyclone, and where'd it go? I got them a little bit mixed up here. And 1 Twister. For this is good for game 1, because I have so much draw power, and that's a consistent number of back row haters there that can probably get rid of that problem card that's in my way. Then I've also got Phoenix and so on. I've got lots of ways to get rid of my opponent's board. Then if you're going against an entirely back row deck, my side deck, you will see I sided in, looks like the sun went away there. I sided in some other back row hate that you'll see. I didn't use all of it because I just didn't need to, but it was nice to have. Then finally, for some one-ofs, I've got Reinforcement of the Army for some more consistency. So this is an additional copy of either Armageddon Knight or Dark Grepher. So that's pretty nice. Foolish Burial, again, basically just another copy of the same card. I send what I need to the graveyard. This is really good if I hadn't seen Gizmek or World Wand or sent them yet. This always helped. It also helped bait negates, because I hadn't revealed what I was playing yet. They have to respond or not respond. And then once I get it in the graveyard, there's not much they can do about it unless they drew the perfect side deck card. Then finally, of course, there's Babel, the controversial card, and Crescendo. So in my opinion, just real quick about this, I wouldn't say that this is that broken if we couldn't also do Masquerana, but I get people's point of view. I'm not trying to advocate too much for Orcust, but I just enjoy the deck so much. It is exactly what most player base was asking for, which is a deck that is good, that does not create an unbreakable board. You know what I mean? Decks that interact. That's exactly what this deck is for. And yes, I built it to OTK, but I don't do that without interacting with you. I have to take apart your board first, and if I don't, I might lose. It's not that this deck is an auto win, but my goodness, guys, it was so much fun to play. It was some of the most fun I've had playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing this deck at the regional. So even if it gets hit, I will probably still continue to try to play it, even if it's down to like tier 2 or tier 3. I just enjoy the deck. I'm not playing it because it's going to get me the most wins. I really don't care about getting an invite. I probably couldn't afford to go to a YCS anyway. I don't know how people do that. But here's my, I won't do side deck yet. I'll do extra deck. My extra deck, pretty standard. You've got 3 Galatea. You have to be running 3. It's too good to not be playing it at 3, because it recycles your stuff, searches what you need, and so on. I understand some people's point of view on this card maybe being broken. I could see that. It searches whatever I want, so maybe semi-limit or limit the card. I get that. That would make me have to be a lot more mindful of my resources, for sure. Then we've got Longirsu, the Orcust Orchestrator. That is such a cool name. I didn't make this very often unless I was going to use it to make a Dingirsu, but a couple times I used its send effect, then made Dingirsu so that I could still attack. So it did help a couple times. It's a pretty good card, but only one, because you don't need it very often. You usually make other things because you're trying to win the game. But if I were going first, the sun keeps changing, but luckily I can change the light here. So sorry about that. It's good, but you're trying to win really quickly in my build. So Longirsu is good if you're going first, trying to set up your board like that. You keep making things and so on. Then we have 2 Dingirsu. You can get away with just 1. I have 2 as basically like a just in case thing. And I got lucky, and my friend James was very generous and just gave me another copy. Otherwise, I'd only be playing one, to be honest, because that's all I could afford to buy. So don't feel like you have to have two. It's nice, but totally unnecessary. You can totally get away with one. Then some more generic links. We've got Barricade Borg. I did not make this one time. I know that it's a thing that you can sometimes make to kind of unclunk your hand and get something in the graveyard, but I never needed to. Phoenix, I made a lot to pop some back row or cause people to have to activate their back row to negate it, which was really nice because I could extend further and just keep playing. Then we've got Trisbana, which was really nice against Striker and against Pendulums. Then we've got Boral Sword, Unchained Abomination, and Zeraboros. I never made Zeraboros just because I'm not going first. I had it in there in case someone made me go first, because you can actually accomplish the Zeraboros banish everything play without using Masquerana. I don't know why people insist upon that. Maybe I'm just dumb and I don't understand exactly what they're doing, but you can totally accomplish that without Masquerana. It's not a necessary card. Unchained Abomination worked really well against a lot of the rogue decks. If I couldn't quite kill them, like if they had extended enough and saved themselves, I would just make Abomination, because every end phase, he would pop whatever they set up to get rid of what I had. Like if they were going to set some traps or anything like that, or set a card in defense position to protect themselves, Abomination just popped it right to the graveyard during every end phase. So this actually won me a game against Danger ABC. If I hadn't made this, I might have lost, because it just popped enough cards that I could get rid of the rest next turn and win the game without even making a Boral Sword. I flooded the field with more Orcust cards. It was awesome. Next, we've got Darklaw. This won me a few games because it's really good against Striker and Pendulum because it keeps their stuff being banished. And then finally, I have Restrict as a mind control, pseudo mind control that I can make whenever. And Winda, if I was ever going to go first and I had instant fusion, didn't need it for Restrict, I would just add yet another kind of floodgatey monster that protects me from my opponent making a ton of monsters, because they can only special summon one time. So yeah, guys, that's the extra deck, and I really honestly, despite my record, wouldn't change anything about what I've done here. Most of my losses were due to luck or people getting just more lucky by drawing all of their anti-Orcust side cards, and honestly, there was just nothing I could do about that, and I'm okay with that. If I lose due to just RNG being a thing, perfectly fine. If I lose to somebody just saying, you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh!, that kind of sucks. I don't like that. But I had so much fun, and I don't believe that any game I lost was because it wasn't winnable. It was just due to luck, and that's great. I loved it so much. In our side deck here, I'll actually pull out the red reboots. I'll just kind of go through these. So I've got my third copy of Cyclone, second copy of Twister, and then I have 2 red reboots. So if I have some back row heavy decks, I'm going to be able to deal with them. I actually, against the Guru control player that I played, my last match that I played, I drew all 3 of my Cosmic Cyclones in my hand in game 2, and it was just the worst. I lost that game because while I could get rid of everything, I couldn't play any other cards. So that was kind of funny, but I still ended up taking the match in game 3, but oh my goodness, that really sucked. But that never happens. Like, this probably would never happen again. Then we've got 3 Called by the Grave, just because everyone is putting in the anti-Orcust hand traps like Lancia and DD Crow. So when I get into game 2 and I know that's what they're putting in their side deck, like I can almost guarantee that's what they're doing, I would put in Called by the Grave so that I have a way to answer that. Otherwise, I don't need Called by the Grave to keep playing the game. I actually had DD Crow also, just in case I went up against things like Striker or even other Orcust variants and so on. Never really needed it, but I sided it in a couple times, but never saw it. Mask Change 2, kind of the same reasons, but I did the same thing for this, or I did it for the same reasons, and I saw it actually a couple games, and it saved me a couple games by getting out Darklaw. Never put in Lancia just because I never saw another deck that did what my deck does. No Orcusts, no cards that really banished very much, so never needed this, but it was there. And then my second copy of Crescendo, just in case, again, I was going first. I want another copy so I can keep playing the long game. So that's it, guys. That's the deck. My reflection on how I did at the regional. Again, my record was 4 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie, and I truly wouldn't change anything about the deck. I love what I did. I was so comfortable playing it. I knew what all my cards did. It was so much freaking fun. So if you just want to have a good time with an Orcust deck and it not be crazy degenerate, play this version. It's so much fun. I think you'll really enjoy it. Despite the trigger happy complaints that people have about the deck right now, I will take decks like this over decks like the Danger Thunder combo you're not playing variant any day. And I hope that y'all feel the same. To my more casual players out there, don't worry, I'm going to have some more decks that are more fun and less for the competitive audience very, very soon. And again, if you guys go shopping for any cards, either in this deck or just cards that you want, be sure to use that link in my video description. It definitely helps me get more cards to build more profiles for you guys. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and see ya.